Hello, everybody. Welcome into the NBA Front Office Show. It's Friday. You know what that means.
Front Office Friday! Pre-Summer League edition?
Pre-Summer League edition. There it is. There it is. Las Vegas Summer League kicks off in just a few hours. We'll talk a little bit about that. We'll talk about the latest news, everything else going on around the NBA world. Keith, you and I always hear the Mega Man theme with our intro music here. Ronnie says, I feel like I'm listening to a happier version of the X-Men animated intro. I had never made that connection, but now that he said that, I can't unhear that.
Yeah, that's true.
I kind of get it.
J-Dog says, is this the Sonic theme song?
Oh.
Yeah, I mean, it can be whatever you want it to be. We think of it as Mega Man, but we're a little older than probably some of the people watching. So,
True.
Yeah, we'll go.
All right. Yeah, that's true. That's true. Oh, I'm sorry, Bryce. I didn't get the let's go. I know. I was off my game, I suppose, for this one, but we'll have to make sure we get it into the next one we do, or at some point during the show. I'll have to throw that in there. Keith, I want to start with this because we spent a decent amount of time talking about him on the show that we did last night. Brandon Ingram, now BI's camp is in the mix, trying to find a trade too. It's like when you can't find the car keys and you start to enlist the rest of the family to go help you. Now the Brandon Ingram's camp, his agency is starting to scour the league, trying to find anyone to trade for BI. I don't see it happening right now, though. I don't think there's a clear trade out there unless something unexpected occurs.
Yeah, there really isn't. There just is not a clear cut. There it is. There's the match. That's the trade that's available. There. You wish there was, but some of the ones that seemed like they made a lot of sense no longer make as much sense. I still think maybe you could craft something around Brandon Ingram for Jared Allen, but the Cavs don't really seem all that interested. And I think a lot of that comes down to what we talked about last night is you then have to re-sign Brandon Ingram, and that's part of the issue. They already have Garland and Mitchell making $30 million plus. You're going to have Evan Mobley making $30 million plus. Now you're going to add Garland to that mix at $40 million plus. Like that's it, right? Now you're an apron team, and you're kind of stuck filling out around those four guys. And I don't know that trade necessarily makes them all that much better. So there was a world where that made sense. I could still maybe see it, but I just don't know if that's the way it'll necessarily go.
Yeah. It'll be. It's certainly something to keep an eye on here because he is a talented player, but I think a lot of teams, especially with the new collective bargaining agreement, they're a little more concerned about paying a player a max salary. I mean, we're seeing it a bit with the Heat and Jimmy Butler. We saw it now. I mean, Paul George leaving the Clippers. That probably doesn't happen under the previous CBA. So I think we're starting to see more of a sense from teams that you're not going to be able to build around three max guys. So then you ask the question, if we're only going to have two max guys, do we want one of those two to be Brandon Ingram? And I think you can be a good team with Brandon Ingram as your second guy. I don't know if you can be a great team. I think ideally you want him to be your third guy. And I think on a conceptual level, I think that's going to be a sticking point for a lot of teams as well. Hey, if we've got to use a max salary on this guy, what's our true ceiling at that point? And I think teams are saying, yeah, we're better off keeping the powder dry here.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think that's where you do get a little stuck, right? Because Brandon Ingram is a very good player. He is let's say a borderline all-star when he has a healthy season, but then your second guy needs to be really good, like a definite all-star, and also one that's also available all the time, because that's another sticking point with Brandon Ingram. He misses a lot of games. So, yeah, I think that definitely makes it tough for people to commit to saying, all right, Brandon Ingram's our guy. Let's bring him in. Let's hand him a max deal or a near max deal and move forward. So, yeah, I'm really not sure. I saw some stuff where some people started posting things like Brandon Ingram says he'll take $20 million a year. I think that's random internet speculation. I've not seen anything that says that would be a huge drop, and he has no reason to put that out there in the world right now. So yeah, we'll kind of go go right now with, yeah, that's probably not where we're at. But yeah, I'm really not sure. There's a lot of people saying, what should the Warriors go for him? Should other teams go for him? I think some of these teams would rather have Lauri Markkanen. I think they see
That's part of
Markkanen
it too.
easier fit, a much more plug and play guy. They would get him at a much cheaper number this year, at roughly half of Ingram's salary right now. So you're getting him cheaper this year, and then probably going to pay him the same amount moving forward. But this year, it's just an easier trade to make. So I think we got to wait and see what happens with the Markkanen market. No pun intended. The Markkanen,
the Markkanet.
Markkanet. Yeah, there we
There
go.
we go. We found it.
Like something from like the replacement for Skynet, like the budget
Oh,
version.
no.
Markkanet. But yeah, they'll just kind of, I think, see what plays out with that, and then maybe those teams may pivot to Ingram. But if that's the case, we may be waiting another few weeks because the Markkanet thing may not resolve itself until we get to his extension date.
Yeah, and that's what, August 6th, off the top of my head.
6th. Yep.
So I mean, we could be this. We've seen this happen before. We've seen it with LeBron. We've seen it with Kawhi, where free agency kicks off and everything is just frozen because you're waiting for that big domino to fall. We could be kind of in a mini version of that. And I hadn't thought about this until you brought it up, but with Lauri Markkanen potentially being the guy that everybody is waiting to see, will the Jazz move him? And if so, what's the price? You've got a few teams that would be interested in, well, a bunch of teams really would be interested in him if he's available. And then if either he gets traded or it becomes clear he's not going to be traded, the Jazz do an extension on August 10th or something, say, then suddenly the Brandon Ingram market picks up, which means it could be a bit of a long summer here for the Pelicans as they're trying to resolve this situation.
Yeah, and if you're the Pelicans too, you're going to be smart about this because maybe you let it go into season. Maybe a team is playing better and realizes, all right, we are one forward away from pushing ourselves into a whole new level, like the Indiana Pacers were last year. And they went out and traded 3 first-round picks for Pascal Siakam, even though they're all late first rounders. Maybe a team does that. Maybe a team says, you know what, we're actually a lot better than we thought we were going to be. Ingram is a guy who really kind of fits for us, and let's kind of try to push forward that way. That could be, something we see coming.
All right, let's go here. Roan said, if the Lakers trade with the Nets, I wouldn't mind Schroder again. Okay. He was pretty solid for the Lakers. It depends on what the deal is and all of that. But yeah, I thought a lot of the concerns around Dennis Schroder were defensive. There were concerns about getting picked on there, and he's just been so tough. The way that he just gets after guys, and the size issues are real. He can still get picked on there, but he makes up for some of it just with pure tenacity, and that's been good to see. I think it's an improvement that he's made over the course of his career, where he's not. I'm not going to say he's a positive defender, but he's not a liability at this point. And in certain matchups, he can do some good things too.
Yeah, without a doubt. Yeah, I mean, he's definitely somebody that can come in and do some stuff, and we could kind of see how
Gary got it.
Yep, there it is. Yeah, well done. Yeah, I mean, I think for him right now, it's going to be, does he become an add-on into a trade for Cam Johnson or for Dorian Finney-Smith? That's right. Where it is. And then maybe again, as we get deeper into the year, a team who comes up with an injury at point guard may look at it and say, all right, that Nets team isn't going anywhere. What use do they have for Schroder? And they may be able to snag him on the cheap. So again, Nets in no real rush probably here to trade him. They don't have like a younger option at that position either. So they could kind of move forward with Dennis Schroder, then find the right deal and move in that direction when they want to go that way. It's funny. I keep kind of forgetting that's where he is. As I'm like, yeah, he's with Brooklyn now, because I very clearly remember him going to Toronto, but then I have to remind myself, oh, he's with Brooklyn. So we'll see. I mean, that one again could take a little while. That one I think may end up being like January, February kind of move, unless it's part of a bigger trade that happens in the next little bit.
Right. RJ said, for guys like O'Shea Brissett, who went looking for more playing time, what are the market options looking like? I mean, it's getting to be slim pickings out there. That's for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you are down to it. there's a handful of teams that still have playing time to offer, Philly being one of them, which I know, no Celtic fan would like to see Brissett go to Philly, but they're probably the one who right now has minutes to offer on a real contender, just because they're still in process of filling out their bench. Utah, we'll see what their roster when it finally is finished and when it comes together. But I was going through it today, and there's not that many teams that have like a lot of open roster spots. Cleveland actually has a few open spots that they could look to fill here over the next little bit, but most teams are down to one or two roster spots open. And right now those teams don't seem like they're overly likely to jump on filling those very quickly. They may more take the approach of, all right, let's let this thing play out a little bit. Let's see, what develops here over the next couple weeks. Maybe a guy pops in summer league, and instead of a camp contract, we want him on a straight non-guarantee that we bring in or something like that. That's where we could see that come to.
There's a real benefit this time of year to have the flexibility again to evaluate summer league. Sometimes there's guys who slip through the cracks where the salary cap space runs out around the league, and next thing you know, you've got a guy that's taking a contract that's way less because he was unfortunate and all the money dried up, and you can be right there to say, hey, cool, we've got a spot, let's go. Because as you said, it's roster spots we're seeing dry up around the league plus cap space. So with those two things becoming in short supply, there's usually a player or two, sometimes more, that you look at and go, whoa, that is an insane value for that player. And so if you're in that position, I can see why teams want to wait, be patient with it, see who slips through the cracks, because right now you still got guys like Gary Trent Jr., like Tyus Jones, some of these names that are sitting out there. I'm not suggesting you're going to get them for a veteran minimum or anything, but some of these guys that are sitting out there right now, they're still thinking, hey, I'm worth, way more than this. In the next coming weeks, there's going to be probably at least a few guys who have to accept the reality that unfortunately they missed their opportunity. It didn't come to them during this season, and we're going to see them take a 1-year deal, try to rehab their value, and then go again next summer.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. That's exactly what's going to happen. We're getting down to it. We're like, so Gary Trent Jr., for example, he's definitely not getting the 25 million he hoped for going into free agency. I can't see that coming. And now we're down to, will he actually get even a mid-level exception deal, meaning the full mid-level, the non-taxpayer amount, which is about 13 million. So we'll see, is that even going to be on the table for him, or is he going to have to do the taxpayer MLE or maybe the room exception from a team? I maybe Detroit or Utah says, all right, hey, we'll throw some cap space at him and bring him in that way. I kind of don't think so. I don't think they're going to be overly interested in going like the Bruce Brown route. So I think what that becomes is you're better off just taking a 1-year deal and then getting back out into the market next year, where it's a pretty weak free agent class. So he could be in a position where Gary Trent Jr. is a guy who, all right, I'm feeling pretty good about this, right? Like now I am starting to feel pretty solid about where we're going moving forward. As far as next year, even if this year probably fell short of expectations.
Yeah. Appetizers and Sushi said, could Rob go overseas and add a sizable center to our roster since no team wants to trade with us? Well, I think teams are going to try to get whatever they can out of teams right now, especially if they feel like there's a team that really needs to make a move. They're going to try to use that leverage and get whatever assets they can. That's the way the trade market works. But as far as going overseas and just adding a center, I mean, a lot of teams there's a bunch of teams looking for a center right now. So a lot of teams would do that. I tend to think the guys who are, most of the guys anyway, I'm sure there's a few exceptions, but most of the guys who are NBA caliber, they're in the NBA.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's a handful of guys that they could look at. I think the bigger problem is, in order for the Lakers to do something like that, they would have to move somebody first, because a player who is overseas right now that's going to actually be able to play in the NBA is not going to come over just for a chance at a roster spot. They would need to come over on a guaranteed contract. The Lakers don't have the roster spot to offer for that right now. So they would have to come in and say, hey, I want a guarantee and I want to know my spot on the roster is secure. And that's how they're going to do that. I mean, there are definitely options. I was just kind of looking through to see some of the guys who are overseas that played well, and just look at like, all right, what are some of the some of the contract statuses like. Those can be a little hard to track down, but there's definitely some guys, some guys that could come in and probably be NBA, center level guys and maybe give you some rotation minutes. But I don't know that they're any better than some of the free agents right now that are out there if you wanted to go that route instead. And that becomes a little bit of a challenge because here's the other thing is, too, the Lakers can't offer anything more than a minimum because there's nobody worth giving, even if they could get to it, the non-taxpayer MLE to and play for them this year. So that would not be a wise move. You're better off spending that on an actual NBA player. So it's not the worst idea. It's just work to be done, much like most things with the Laker roster, to be able to do a move like that.
Exactly. They've got some stuff to do, and so far they've done nothing. They've just brought back their own players, but the word that came out from Mark Stein, I think it was yesterday, is that they're trying to open up that taxpayer mid-level by shedding salary. There's a few names out there on the market they could potentially target, but we'll see if they can pull something like that off, if it's part of a bigger deal or what they ultimately try to do. I think everybody knows they need to do something, whether that's now or just sometime before the trade deadline. We'll see. And again, if I'm an opposing team right now, and Rob Pelinka's calling, I'm going, so you guys haven't done anything and you're not quite there as a roster. How many future firsts do you have? Because we want all those. Exactly. That's what teams are going to do.
Yeah, without a doubt. Yeah, they are not in a position where they're not bargaining from a position of strength right now, right? Like they're going to have to, figure that out kind of on the fly a little bit more to put that together because of the way, things have kind of gone. Teams would know, all right, you're over a barrel a little bit, even if it was something as simple as, hey, we want to salary dump Cam Reddish or Christian Wood or Jackson Hayes. And the only reason I picked those guys is they are all, in a spot where they make, minimum salary. If it was, we're going to salary, the team's going to say, I want a second, right? They're not, no one's just going to take them because why would you help out somebody to make them better just to help them out? Like that's just not necessarily how it works. So we'll see. I wanted to pull this question real quick. Let me try to find it here. Oh man, now I can't find it. There's a question about Zach LaVine. I can't find it now.
Did the Bulls decide to waive and stretch Zach LaVine if they don't find a trade? There it is.
Yeah. So this one's interesting. One, they won't do it.
I was going to say I can't imagine them doing it.
But here's what I find interesting about it. They could, but just barely. There's a rule that not a lot of people know about because nobody waives and stretches this much money.
Yeah.
If you stretch a player, the cap hit in that year cannot be more than 15% of the salary cap for that season.
I didn't know that.
Zach LaVine would come in at just about 14%. Because how it would work for him is with the stretch provision, he would get his 3 years that he has under contract because it's a player option. So if he knew he was being waived, he would pick that up to be waived with that on the books. So that would take that you can stretch a contract, double the amount of years left plus one. So you'd stretch that over seven years. So that'd be a $19.7 million cap hit for each of the next 7 years. And that works out to be about 14% of this year's salary cap. So you just squeak in under that number. But that's why nobody would do it, because nobody would want to have, 19.7 million on the books every year for the next 7 years. That would not happen. Even if they said we'll eat the full 43 million this year and then stretch the final 2 years over 5 years, that's still like what does that work out to? That's like $20 million roughly almost over those 2 years. Yeah. That's not going to be a thing either. So that's just it's not going to happen, and that's the reason why.
Man, I did not know about that rule, about the 15% rule there. But could you imagine? I mean, essentially just remove $20 million off of your salary cap for 7 years. That would be brutal. That would be brutal to
Yeah.
do something like that. So yeah, you're right. They're not going to do it, but interesting rule again, one that I didn't even know about, that there was a limit on that, but that would be a pretty crazy wave and stretch.
Sadly, that came up with John Wall when John Wall had the Supermax
Oh yeah,
extension coming and then hadn't played. And it was like they have all this money on the books and this guy hasn't even played. That's when that came to the forefront because they couldn't waive and stretch him because it would have been too much. Would have been too much on the books. Look at our guy Bryce. That's it. Hit the like button.
that's
Let's
right.
get that out there to more and more people. It helps quite a bit, more than I think anybody really fully understands. We've got well over 800 people watching on YouTube alone. Go ahead and hit that like button for us. Let's try to get that up to 2, 3, 400 likes by the end of the show.
Yeah, let's go. Brian said, I don't usually pay attention to social media following, but Gary Trent recently followed Tyrese Maxey and Andre Drummond.
Maybe.
How does he get there?
Yeah, it would have to be they could even a sign and trade is tough for Philly because they don't really have anything. I guess they could do like the double sign and trade with KJ Martin goes out as the matching salary because they're still sitting on his small cap hold, and they could probably do it that way. That would probably be how it would have to come together. Philly is they don't have the they're down to minimums is what they can sign players to right now, and they're a lot closer to the first apron than I think people realize too. They're only about $7 million under the first apron, so Trent would have to take a pretty steep discount even in that double sign and trade. Then Philly would also be hard capped at the apron. They've still got but they're actually only about $5 million under because that's not including Kyle Lowry because that signing hasn't gone official, so it gets really tight. He'd probably have to take a minimum, which I mean, if he's willing to say I'll take a minimum and just play out the year and figure it out, okay, I guess why not?
If anybody can pull off something like that requires some gymnastics, it's going to be Daryl Morey.
Yeah.
But I'd be surprised.
That's tough, man.
Yeah. Yep. By the way, guys, if you're getting ready, you're excited about Summer League in Las Vegas, over on the Basketball Bulletin, we just published a great viewing guide, if you will, to Summer League. Here's a little image of it. Our guy Bryce Simon got this put together with someone named Kyle Cantalon, who did a fantastic. I mean, this thing is in depth. Okay, this is a great viewing guide for Summer League, and it has report cards here. So make sure you guys go check that out. Give it a look. I put the link in the description down below. It's extremely, extremely useful over on the Basketball Bulletin.
Yeah, this is and it's funny because it's so big and vast that you have to go to a Google Doc to actually be able to read it. So yeah, I mean, check it out. Kyle crushed it, man. Like this is an insane amount of detail. So much so that like I'm a little afraid for Kyle's well-being. And I don't really even know Kyle very much, but Bryce vouched for it. So if Bryce vouches for it, I'm all in on it. And then when I started actually looking at it, I was like, holy cow. And I'm actually going to use it to help me make sure I'm not missing anything. I'm going to start popping around a little bit to make sure I'm seeing the right games and everything like that.
Mm-hmm.
So we're a little over an hour out from Las Vegas Summer League tipping off. Magic Cavaliers is the first one. So
here we go.
Tristan Da Silva and Jalen Tyson. All right, let's go. That'll
be fun.
Maybe not the most in-depth, super high prospect matchup, but still fun. I mean, and then you got a couple good ones later tonight, including Wizards Hawks with Sar and Risache. So that'll
be good. Yeah, excited for that for sure. Yep. MJ Coops said, finally caught the show live. Just wanted to say thanks for making my commutes enjoyable. Appreciate you both. Don't ever stop. Well, thank you very much. We do appreciate that. Thanks for the kind words, and glad you were able to catch the show live here.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's always great when people can catch a live one. We love it. And if you can't catch the live Friday shows, we've been doing a lot of, you were with me last night, but doing a lot of the front office overtime shows in the evening. We'll continue to do those throughout the rest of the off season because that'll be fun. Because eventually it's a point where it's like, all right, no more football talk. I need some hoops talk. And that's when I it's like the timeline is dead and everybody's gone away in August and the beginning part of September. And I'll be coming in live to be like, let's go, with that.
That's gonna be fun. Those are fun. I always enjoy those, just those quick Q&A sessions. Could the Clippers look at trading for Zach LaVine? Okay, let's pull up their salary cap sheet so we can take a look at this. Because it's not easy. I mean, you would have to assume right off the bat, because he's what, 43 million.
Yeah.
Norman Powell, Zubac, and PJ Tucker. Really yeah.
Yes, Terrence
that
Mann
gets you there.
Like, I guess you'd probably try to do Mann instead of Zubac because you need him. So, yeah, I mean, because you can't trade Jones, can't trade Batum, can't trade Harden. You're not going to trade Kawhi. Maybe you could attach if Russ is going somewhere, you could attach him there and just kind of go forward that way. So yeah,
so it's not impossible.
No,
I don't.
Yeah,
I guess I think if you're concerned, so part of the reason why the Clippers didn't keep Paul George, from what's been reported, is they were worried about the flexibility issues that would create by giving him the contract that he wants for the number of years and all of that. If you're concerned with that, and then you turn around and take on Zach LaVine, that would be strange decision making.
Yeah, completely agree. Yeah, it does. That doesn't make a lot of sense to me. I at that point, I would lose my mind if I was a Clippers fan. Because I'd be like, why didn't we just sign Paul George for 3 years and give him the no trade? Because Zach LaVine might as well have one, right? I would not do that.
Oh, that's another thing for the teams have to factor in. Like, if you are trading for Zach LaVine, the ability to get out of that contract if it doesn't work out will be, I mean, minuscule. Like, you're not going to have an opportunity to move off that contract. So because the Bulls have had such a hard time finding a taker right now, if he goes somewhere else and something happens again, like if let's say he suffers another injury and then whatever team he goes to says, that's it, we want to offload this salary, good luck. I mean, no contract is untradeable in the NBA, truly. We see deals all the time that people say, oh, that's the worst deal, nobody's ever trading for that, and then a move will be made. But man, that will be a Herculean task to move that contract, say, next year, if whatever team goes for him doesn't find what they wanted.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's it. I'm glad you said it. No contract is untradeable because we see trades happen all the time. But yeah, it's just not going to be easy to move some of these contracts, and then you get stuck, and now you're in the same spot with the Bulls are, where you're turning around and you're like, all right, I'd like to get out of this. We'll pull this one up real quick. If LaVine is waived and stretched to the next 7 years, we already covered it's probably not going to be. Is he still fully paid the full 7 years if someone picks him up from waivers? No. So one, nobody has the ability to claim his contract because you have to claim the full contract for the year you're making the waiver claim. So that means you'd have to claim the $43 million contract. Let's just say Utah traded Markkanen with no money coming back, and now they're sitting on $50 million in space. And let's just say they wanted to do it. What would happen is his contract would revert to exactly what it looks like now. The wave and stretch would go away, and then it would be there. So that's how that works. With
the Bulls would throw a party if that happened.
Yeah, right. Yeah, they go absolutely crazy. Then they're completely off the hook. From it. Then it really is like a amnesty clause.
Do you know what happens with the actual pay? Does the player get paid over the 7 years and just, hey, now your money gets stretched out more? Or do the actual physical checks still get paid over the originally agreed to time period and just the cap hit gets stretched?
I believe it's a negotiated thing. I think it turns into most players will take it on the original pay schedule that it was supposed to be. So it was supposed to be, most players are paid in installments, twice a month on the 1st and 15th of every month. That's how they get paid. So that's usually how it would go to, and that would continue throughout the original terms of the contract.
That makes sense. Otherwise, take the money now. Otherwise, you're giving the team an interest-free loan over whatever period you have to you'd have to wait to get the money essentially, which doesn't make any sense. So let's go here. The most likely Lakers trade target. I mean, they're poking around a lot of guys. There's a lot of names that have come up. Obviously, the right deal hasn't appeared at this point. Like I said, I think a lot of teams are going to use the situation the Lakers are in against them and say, hey, you kind of need to make a move. So, we want top dollar here. But the names we've been hearing, I mean, to varying degrees of them actually being available, guys like Wendell Carter, Cam Johnson, Jeremy Grant, Dorian Finney-Smith, Kyle Kuzma, like all the kind of typical. Brooke Lopez was floating around for a little while. All the typical names that are out there as of this moment.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I mean, I have nothing to add because that's exactly it. It's all the same guys you just mentioned.
Possible for the Lakers to make a Trey and Capella trade. Both. I mean, you're talking about over $60 million in salaries. And remember, the Lakers being a tier 1 apron team, they have to send out more money in the trade than they take back. So, yeah, I think, is there a way to stack up enough salaries? Maybe. I mean, I'd have to sit down and really do like D'Lo, Rui. Like most likely, you're probably talking about putting a LeBron or AD into the deal, and they're not going to do that just in order to stack up enough money to actually make something like this work. So possible, I would say no, it's not going to happen.
All right, let's now I'm curious. $65.3 million.
I'm going to pull up their cap sheet here.
And you got to match it pretty close or send back more. So we're going to take AD and LeBron off the table.
Okay.
So, all right, so you said D'Lo, Vincent, Vanderbilt, and Rui. That's 59.6.
So you're almost there.
So, yeah, I mean, can't stack your minimums.
And you can't trade. You can't put Max Christie in it. So it would have to be Reeves.
So that would be, what did I say it was? 65?
You were 59. And, yeah, the total is 65 for Capella and Trey.
So you'd have to do like Jalen Hood-Schifino maybe, and one of the minimums get you there. Yeah, that just gets you there. But now you've just traded
six guys
away.
That's the problem.
Now all your depth is gone, and you're dealing with the second apron hard cap because you're over it. You wouldn't be able to fill out your roster, so that wouldn't be, you wouldn't be able to make it happen. So not both. Maybe one, but definitely not both.
All right, let's go here. What does a Luke Kennard, Gary Trent Jr. contract look like? I mean, Kennard's another name where I should have mentioned when I was talking about guys who have not gotten a deal yet and the money's drying up and the roster spots are drying up. They won't get multi-year deals. I don't think they're going to want multi-year deals unless maybe it's a second-year player option type thing. These are the kind of guys who right now their true value is probably higher than what they're going to really get with what's left here in free agency. And who knows, maybe it still works out for them. But right now, it looks like we'll probably wind up going down that path where these guys have to take less money than what their market value is. You take, say, a 2-year deal with an opt-out after the first year, and then you opt out next summer and you try again in free agency. That's probably the path for guys like Kennard, like Gary Trent Jr. Maybe Tyus Jones will be in that boat. We'll see what Washington does there. But that's probably where these guys are going to wind up.
Yeah, I think the Kennard has a chance of maybe getting a longer term contract because Trent, there's just no real fit for him in Toronto. The only way he's going to get a long-term deal with Toronto is if Toronto, which is odd because they now have Bruce Brown, if they try to turn him into their version of Bruce Brown from last year, where it is, all right, we'll give you a deal, but we're going to trade you at some point. Maybe that could happen, but I think you're already dealing with Brown on that deal. You don't have enough minutes to give all these wings playing time. Like there just isn't, because you still have, remember, you've got RJ Barrett there. You have Grady Dick. They drafted Jacoby Walter this year. They like Ochai Agbaji. You just don't have enough minutes to play all those guys. And you don't want to be in a position where, well, we have to play Trent and Brown. Right. So we have to show teams that they're good and they can play if we're going to trade them. So that's not going to come. Then I think with Kennard, though, there is a path to playing time because the Grizzlies could still use another shooter and they could sign him. I think the real limiter for the Grizzlies is $6 million is a luxury tax, and I think that for them right now where they're at, that acts as almost like a de facto hard cap for them, where I don't think they want to cross into the tax, even knowing, hey, we just got to get out of it later. I think they'd rather not have to deal with that. But Kennard is a guy who has some value, so maybe they do that and then say, all right, we can move on from Zaire Williams or Jake LaRavia or somebody if we need to down the line.
Yeah. So, I mean, Memphis, maybe that's something in play for Kennard, but we'll see. This is a tough point for free agents where patience is running thin, just as cap space and roster spots are. So we'll see what happens with these guys. All right. Look at the Mavs. How does their future look?
Yeah, good. I mean, near term looks great.
Yeah.
Right? You have Luka, you have Kyrie, you have Klay Thompson now. You've got Derek Lively, Dan Gafford, PJ Washington. Those guys all played really well for the Mavs. So I would say, yeah, in the near term, looks really good. Long term, you have Luka. So,
pretty good.
Yeah, I mean, that's
Luka's 25.
Yeah, and who wouldn't want to have Luka, right? Even if you wiped everything else off the map here, I guess keep Lively too. If I had Luka and Lively, I'm like, all right, that's pretty good. I can work with that. I'm build a team, right? Like that's looks pretty good, both short and long term. I think their challenge is going to be they're going to be right back in the mix with a bunch of teams in the West, an improved Thunder team, a team that'll also they're a year older, year of real playoff experience now under their belts. Like that's a little tougher. I still think Denver's going to be pretty good. Minnesota should be pretty good. And there's a couple teams coming up from behind, so I don't know that Dallas has quite the path, but I think they'll be okay. This year, it wouldn't surprise me if they made it back to the finals again. But
they've got you add Clay to the mix, and that's going to help. To some degree that you're replacing a good perimeter defender. But I do think that Clay can be a benefit to this team, an asset to them. So, yeah, I mean, I think the Mavs are good. I think they're right there in the mix in the Western Conference. But there's a number of teams that are right there as well. Challenging Lakers fans, Celtics fans, and Clippers fans don't give a thumbs up.
All right. As a little breaking news, you don't need to play the drop.
Okay.
But the Jazz dipping into a little bit of their flexibility. Johnny Juzang, UCLA product, who's been on a two-way deal with Utah, earns a 4-year, $12 million deal to return to the Jazz. Not bad. He's actually played pretty well at times for Utah when he's seen minutes late in the year, and he's done quite well in the G League. So, all right, small deal, but there a lot of people were asking last night. They've asked on the other front office overtimes. I even saw it in here a couple times where people asked. I don't know what's going on with the Chris Dunn thing. My guess, strictly a guess, is if Chris Dunn does land with the Clippers, which I think probably will happen because it was pretty heavily reported, what that will turn into is a sign and trade where he goes from Utah to the Clippers and probably into the Russell Westbrook spot where Westbrook goes out and probably lands with Denver. If that's how that comes together. Why that hasn't happened yet, I don't know. Maybe the Nuggets are reviewing other options here. I know people are down on Russ and a lot of people don't like him, but go look at Denver right now. They don't have anything as far as backup guards go. At least anybody who's proven. And Russ is still better than a completely unknown at backup point guard. And someone's going to challenge and say he's not. But I'm not going to agree with that. So yeah, let's see.
Sure.
Somebody said the Mavs don't have a center. They have Derek Lively and
Daniel Gafford.
PJ Washington can play small ball. Dwight Powell, right? Who's
Dwight Powell
for Canada.
Yeah, they've got guys.
So yeah, pull this one very quickly. Nuggets still didn't sign Murray. It sounds like that's just being delayed until after the Olympics.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Jamal Murray, if he has a strong Olympics, they say, I'm going to hold off. Let me see if I can finally make that All-NBA push that we've been kind of waiting on. And then I qualify for the much bigger deal. So maybe that one doesn't get done. We'll see. If it does, I think it'll look like Donovan Mitchell's, where it is, let me get this signed so I can get back out on the market when I hit 10 years of service and go from
Right.
there.
Yeah, that makes sense. Miguel said it's crazy to me how many quality free agents are still available and probably won't be on a team next season. Gordon, well, I mean, define quality, but hey,
Well,
like,
I don't know that I'd say probably won't be on a team.
right? Yeah, I think they'll be on a team, but like, there's some like, okay, Robert Covington, is he on a team? Yeah, but he's not what he used to be, right? He's not performing at that level anymore. But Gordon Hayward, Tyus Jones, Kennard, Gary Trent Jr., Lonnie Walker, Dennis Smith Jr. I mean, these guys are going to wind up on teams. They're going to be somewhere. It just may take a little time for the dust to settle. And it could be teams are waiting. They're not sure what they want to do with roster spots and things like that while we're kind of on Markkanen watch. That could indeed be, holding things up for now.
The big dog walked in behind me. I don't know where she went. She doesn't usually show up on the show, so I was going to try to get her to come up here. I'll also say this: Covington, Lonnie Walker, Dennis Smith Jr., Gordon Hayward, probably all our minimum guys now. Like, I know that's tough for a couple of those guys, but that's what Smith Jr. and Lonnie Walker have been the last couple of years. And then Hayward, that's a huge drop, but that might be where we're at now. Covington, same boat, hasn't been able to stay healthy. Kennard, Tyus Jones, Trent he may go that route, but he's not really that kind of guy. Kennard, let's see, we just talked about him. And then I think Tyus Jones, if nothing else, I think Washington will bring him back for 10, 12 million or something and say, all right, let's kind of go in that direction there.
You keep him as at least a trade chip moving forward if you do that. I saw you highlighted this one.
Yeah, I did. So it's more complicated than I want to get into here, but I went to Bridgewater State back when it was still Bridgewater State College. I only say that because it did change names after I graduated to Bridgewater State University, and then I went to but I finished up school at Boston College. So I claim Bridgewater State. It's also my hometown. Bridgewater is my hometown, Massachusetts.
So was this was this a junior college?
No, this is a full 4-year school. It's one of the bigger schools in Massachusetts, student population wise. It's just like a local school. Like it's grown quite a bit. It used to be very much a commuter school. But now it's grown into it's like 50-50 on campus and commuters. And every time I go, they've added like 7 new buildings to the campus. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, I don't even recognize this place anymore. Want to know this though? It is the oldest, what they used to call a normal school in the entire country. And a normal school was a school that was designed and created to train teachers. So it's the oldest school that was created to train teachers. As the country started to grow, it was the first one ever.
Cool. So, very cool. Yep. When you said it went from college to university, I was like, oh, maybe they went from a 2-year to a 4-year. But that was because that was actually the path that I took. I went to a JC for 2 years, got all my undergrad stuff done, my gen ed stuff knocked out, and then transferred over to a 4-year school. Saved a bunch of money doing it that way. Yeah,
it's not a bad path. If you Now what's crazy is how many of these kids go in and they're like a year away from like completing a bachelor's or an associate's coming out of high school. Like that's like a big thing is
because they count the credits
on college credits early, and then they go in, and that's why like all these kids are going to be coming out is like our daughter's going to be like 20, and she's gonna be like, actually, can you call me Dr. Smith, please? And I'm gonna be like, no, you're still my kid. I'm not going to do that. So
no, that will not be happening.
Yeah, and why they went from a college to a university, and I only learned this when we went through the transition. In order to call yourself a university, you have to offer degrees in so many various fields of study. And they finally added a handful more degree options. So that's how they became a university.
Gotcha.
Yeah. Oh, hey, how about this? Marvel Talk. Did you watch it? The Captain America trailer?
No, I haven't seen it yet.
Yeah, it came out today.
I will go watch it. And I love that he actually has studios too.
Yeah, I know, right?
The Protector in the night there.
Yeah, love it.
But no, I haven't watched. So I watched the Agatha All Along trailer.
Yep.
Of course, I checked that one out, but I have not watched the Captain America one yet. That's on my to-do list right after this.
Yeah, it's only a trailer, but I'm really excited. It looks really good. It has Winter Soldier vibes.
Oh, cool.
Do it a little bit. So
that was one of my favorients. So that's exciting.
About that. So, man, What would get you with the second tweet?
The second tweet with like the story.
Smart,
like
smart, man.
Yeah,
get you. As of yesterday, hoof shaving talk. Yeah, I mean, yeah, he's the hoof guy, man. Did you see the number of people in the comments?
I did. It was like, oh my gosh, when I saw that, I went, we're in the wrong business.
Yeah,
we're in the wrong business. We need to start a different channel.
Or if I like turn the camera outside and I go cut the grass, people.
There you go.
Crazy, yeah. Somebody did ask, like, I feel bad for the cows. Don't feel bad. They can't feel it. It's like hair.
It's like your fingernails.
Getting a haircut. Yeah. That's why I don't cut too low on the hooves. I know an awful lot about trimming a cow hoof now. So, just so you know. Somebody wants to know about Vezenkov. It's nothing to know. Raptors have him under contract. Raptors expect him to come there. So let's see what happens with that. Does he or not? Do they end up waiving him? Does he take a buyout? Does he give back most, if not all, of his contract? We'll see. But as of right now, he's a Raptor, and no change with that situation. No matter what he wants with that.
Oh no. Joe Biden wants to know how I stay fit at my age. Is that
Joe Biden not just get the Joe Biden name on Twitter or on,
right on YouTube? Right? How do you not?
How do you stay fit at your age, Trevor?
Well, first of all, I don't. I think I'm more losing that battle than winning. But especially anytime I try to do anything. But my stress relief is lifting weights, so I do that. That's the main thing that I do.
Tossing around the iron.
Tossing around. Yep.
Are you guys? Somebody asked if you're going live after the game. Are you guys doing playback today?
Yeah, we are. We're doing playback for Lakers Rockets, and then we'll do our live show after the game.
Yeah,
so that is
fun.
coming.
I'm excited. That's the earlier one too. So, right, that's 7:30 Eastern start.
Yep, 7:30 Eastern.
Little bit of a weird schedule. It's not game flowing into game on the ESPN side tonight.
Yeah.
Pelicans Timberwolves are at 5. Then there's a half-hour break because they're doing NBA today because they're going to draw and announce the in-season tournament groups.
At
what p.m.
What time's that at?
7 p.m. Eastern.
Okay. So right before the Lakers. Okay.
Yep.
Give us something to talk about in there.
Yep.
How much would it take for Trevor Lane to get a contract on the Lakers? How much would it cost? I would do it for free, and then I would just do a live show from the sideline because nobody's putting me in the game. They would ask me, "Do you want to go in?" I would say, "No, I'm fine with my view right here," and I would just do a show from there, and I would monetize that, so they don't have to pay me. I would do my live show from the sideline. We talk through everything. We take questions, comments, all that kind of stuff. It would be a really good time. In fact, I think it's a great idea. And if anyone with the Lakers is listening, let's see if we can get this done.
Want to hear it? A completely ignorant story. So when I was a senior in high school, I thought it would be very funny to declare for the NBA draft. And I was like, I'm going to declare for the NBA draft just because then my name will show up on these lists and like it'll be funny. So I actually we reached out to the NBA, like you had to send a letter because there was like email existed. I'm not quite that old, but it wasn't like that big of a thing. So we sent a letter and we got it back, and it said like they gave the steps that you would have to do it, but in there it said if you have any hopes of playing any form of college basketball, do not undergo this process, right? Because this was a back then you lost your eligibility if you did this. And at that point I was like, you know what, maybe I could still walk on at a D3. Well, there's no scholarships at D3, but could I walk on and play at a D3 school? So I didn't end up doing it, but that was like one of my thoughts at that time was that. And then I said, you know what if I just offered a team to play for free? But then I realized, they actually have this thing called a league minimum contract, and they can actually get somebody who can actually play for the minimum. And I couldn't just be on the team, for those reasons. But I was so close to doing that, to doing it back then. So
declare for the draft just to see your name on the list.
Yeah.
You get some team calling you going, who are you? Where's your footage?
Exactly, right. Yeah. Can we get some? Back then, it would have been like VCR tapes. Can you send a tape?
You send it.
Games?
It's
like,
you in your driveway shooting.
Yeah, right. Or just my games my mom might have recorded off the camcorder back in the day. I might have had a couple of those, but it's like half the time she didn't turn the camera, so it's like trained on one basket and all the actions on the other end of the floor and stuff. So it was. I did go to at college. I did go to the first day of open tryouts, and I was like, yeah, I'm not good enough for this even at a D3 school. I was like, I'm out.
And that's
moved into very quickly. That's when I went back to my high school and said, "Can I help as a volunteer assistant?" And that's how I started coaching and stuff. But
there you go.
Yep,
that's the way to go.
Not good.
All right, on that uplifting story, let's.
It was fun, right?
It is. That is
D1,
funny.
guys. D3. Like I never thought I could play at a D1 school. No chance. Like never. That was never even a dream. That I mean, I guess it was a dream, but that dream died very, very quickly. So, but
yeah. Let's go. Joe Biden says, "Is Tatum really 6'9"? He looks as tall as Joel." Right. Yeah, we did talk about this.
I don't know about as tall as Joel.
Learn to be wrong.
Yeah, why do you need to learn to be wrong?
I don't know.
Okay. What was my player comp? Oh man, I don't know. Just somebody who just shot, shooting specialist. Craig Hodges.
Craig Hodges. There we go.
Yeah, I guess that'd be as good as anything. I could shoot and pass and not much else. I despite never getting taller than my current towering height of 5'9", which I was at in sixth grade. So I did have these dreams like, oh my God, I'm going to be super tall. And then that was it. I didn't grow. I grew maybe a half inch after sixth grade. And but I know, much to my dad's chagrin, who was like, you got to practice your ball handling. You're not going to get that tall. And I was like, no, I'm going to be big. Like, I'll be fine. And then, nope, I never practiced ball handling enough and was terrible.
Whoops.
Yep. All right. Last one, because this is a real one. And then we'll wrap up and go watch some basketball. What are the odds Lonzo gets waived by Chicago? I would say with Lonzo, his deal is probably not until after the trade deadline. The Bulls will probably keep him until the trade deadline.
Mm-hmm.
If they can't use him in a trade by then to do whatever direction they're going in, then maybe at that point they may say, all right, hey, let's work a bio, because they've got other guards. They don't really need him. And then at that point you'll say, all right, let's do something. And then maybe he goes and catches on with somebody and plays down the stretch for the playoffs. I really hope Lonzo makes it back and can play.
Me too.
He's so fun, right? Like he's really good, man. I'm not hiding him. He's just not coming up close enough. They're saying I'm hiding the dog. He's back. Here. Come here. Oh, now he's moved to this side. He doesn't want to be on camera today. He's hiding himself.
Yeah, he's shy.
Yeah, I guess. He's been a pain in the butt all day today. So, but yeah. So, yeah, I mean, let's hope Lonzo gets back. But yeah, probably gets, if he gets waived, I would say post-trade deadline before buyout season wraps up.
All right. Well, on that, let's go get ready to watch some basketball.
Let's do it.
Some summer league ball. We'll watch that. Everybody, thank you so much for joining. Make sure you do subscribe to the YouTube channel here. Don't forget to turn on those notifications. Have a great weekend. Of course, if anything big happens, we'll jump on and address it. Otherwise, we'll see everybody on Monday. So see ya and stay safe.